Hey, I'm Ron with Ideal, and in this segment, we're going to talk about Ideal circuit breaker finders, and specifically the Ideal 61-534 circuit breaker finder with a digital receiver. Now, when I look at this device, what it does for me is it identifies breakers in electrical breaker panels so I can safely figure out which one to turn on and off when I'm working at an outlet in a room or in a lighting circuit in someplace. So what these do is they identify breakers. And the transmitter, when we plug it into an AC outlet, and by the way, there has to be AC present. If there's no AC present, transmitter's not obviously going to work. Or attach it into a lighting circuit, and it will then transmit a signal that the receiver here can then identify which of the breakers in the panels actually is the one that is feeding power to this transmitting device. So again, we can safely trace electrical lines with them. And in years gone by, we would have just started throwing switches in the electrical breaker panel, and eventually you'd get to the right one. But with this thing, it's a lot easier to identify those breakers, and they work really, really good. So let's take a quick close-up of both devices, and then I'll show you how to use them. Here's a nice close-up of the Ideal circuit breaker finder, and what you've got here is a transmitter unit and a receiving unit. Now, the transmitting unit, basically when you plug it into an electrical outlet in a room someplace, and again it's got to have live circuit there, or AC, or we attach it to an AC circuit, we can then, light up the lights in the very back here, and that tells me the transmitter's working. Okay, now the transmitter is then generating a certain sound or tone at a certain frequency that our receiver here is designed to go find back in electrical breaker panels. Now, when I look at the receiver, it's got an opening in the bottom here for a battery compartment, so if you ever have to change out the battery, that's where it goes. The little openings on either side is for the volume, so we can actually hear the speaker inside, and when I turn the little on and off switch on, it's got some indicator lights on the top here just indicating that the tester's working and it's ready to go, and it's going to be actively looking for that tone that this transmitter is putting out. And the very nose of the unit is the portion of the tester that I'm going to hold up against each individual breaker in the breaker panel, and then I'll be able to identify which of the breakers that this transmitter unit is actually plugged into. Now, the transmitter is usually plugged into electrical outlets in rooms, but you can buy little adapters like this that allow us to actually turn it into something we can actually attach to some electrical wiring in a building. And again, you got to get to the bare conductors there, so be careful because it has to be an AC or an active AC circuit in order to trace. But normally, as I said, we've been plugging it into an outlet, but in this case, I'm going to plug it right into the extension cord I got run into the tabletop here. Now, I got some indicator lights in the back here, and it's got really nothing much on this side here, but on this side here, I'll notice that I got a little black button, and underneath it says GFI. Or GFCI, I should say. And what that is that's a tester. If I push the button, if there was any GFI breakers or GFI receptacles in the circuit, it would actually trip them, so we can actually test to make sure they're working properly. Now, the tester can also be used to identify whether or not you have correct wiring at the outlet in the room. Now, this little legend here with these little combination of lights being lit up here will indicate what's going on with electrical wiring at the outlet. Now, I have two green lights here lit up, and the middle light is not lit up. And if you look at the top one here, that's what it says, and right next to it says correct wiring. And if you have any other combination of lights lit up, you might have a missing neutral, or your hot neutral reversed, or a missing ground, and what combination of lights light up will give you whatever that miswire might happen to be. So a lot of guys will use these just to, again, trace to make sure that the electrical wiring is correct at the outlet in the room. Now, this thing, again, is generating a sound or a tone that the tracer or receiver unit here is designed to go find. So if I turn my receiver on and hold it up against it, yes, sure enough, it's making sound, and we're going to use that to actually go locate that breaker back inside the panel. So let's go trace this particular circuit, and we'll find that breaker. Well, here we are back at the electrical breaker panel itself, and we're going to try and find the breaker that the transmitter is actually plugged into with our receiving device here. Now, the receiver, I'm just going to very simply turn it on, and I get two lights lighting up on me here, indicating that the receiver's working, and it's ready to go find that particular breaker. Now, when you hold the receiver up to the breakers, you've got to be very careful, make sure you're holding the tester towards flush with the face of each individual breaker. So we're going to make sure the nose of the receiver is going to go over each of these. And if you're at an odd angle like that, one way or another, it's not going to give you a good reading. So we're going to hold it up flush, and it's going to start beeping at breakers. And I'm going to slowly go through the panel kind of give the entire thing like, just a half a second on each of the breakers. And we're going to slowly run it through the entire panel itself. And you can see, again, it's beeping on all of those, actually. And there's another one. And again, just give it that little half second as you slowly go through. Again, I'm flush on the front face of all the breakers. So we got to go through the panel one time like this. Okay? There was one final one. Now, now the transmitter, or the receiving unit here, now is looking and is tuning itself in to that particular tone, frequency that, again, the transmitter is putting out. So it's now stored all of those. This is, okay, which of those is the loudest? So now I'm going to go back through the panel. Again, and I give it just a couple seconds. And as I run back through the panel, you're going to find out that it's only going to probably beep at the one that actually it is. And again, I'm going to slowly go through it. Take your time. Don't have to rush through this. It's very important, obviously, we hit the right breaker. And sooner or later here, it should start beeping at me as I go through the panel. Oh, there it was. Okay, all right, there it is. Okay, so that was the only one that beeped at me, so I know that's the one that the receiver unit has then found. So if I go back over that one more time, again, if I hold it up to it, it's going to continue to beep at me. My little green light on the unit is flashing at me, and again, it's indicating that's the right breaker. And again, if I'm on the unit and I'm at an odd angle, the unit's not going to beep at you. So make sure you're flush or even with the face of the breaker. And then, of course, we can turn that breaker off and then actually go work on that circuit out there in the room. And that's how we go about tracing wires with these circuit breaker finders back inside the panels themselves. So, hey, I'm Ron with Ideal. Good luck to you out there, and I'll plan on seeing you next time.